a better Nigeria? Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Redru. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Redru, where critical life issues are clarified. We hope you've been enjoying our episodes so far. Our last discussion was on family values, and we've been on a series on the family. And if you need to get, the recordings of that, you need to go to our website, Answers with Dr. Redru, and get all that. Dr. Redru was at a seminar this past week, family life seminar, where he spoke about restoring the family heritage. You need to get those recordings, and you can call 081-4456-9000 and place an order to get the recording. It will change your life and give you new perspective on the family. I have in the studio today Obi Brown.
Yeah, hi Onari.
Hi Obi, it's good to have you. I have Mr. Isaac Omoniyi.
Good evening.
Good evening, you're welcome. And I have Dr. Redru, the man with 1,000 answers. It's like a million answers. You have answers to everything, and bless God for you. For
Thank you.
Having such a big. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Onari.
So today our discussion is going to go towards Obi Brown.
Yeah.
It's going to we're tilting towards
Marriage, right?
Yeah. That's where we've been. So let me leave it.
So we've been having a very nice time talking about family values, right? Personally, I've learned a lot, honestly. And there are things that I just get to my house and begin to put things together, Yeah, but we got to move on, and so we're talking about marriage today, right? And I guess when we started thinking about the episode, I remembered a friend of mine who just told me, he met a girl, and then within 2 months he had married her. In his mind he just looked for some certain qualities, and he said, "Oh, she ticks all the boxes," and he married her. And then after a year, he says, "I don't love this girl. We have nothing in common. Yeah, she still ticks all the boxes, but we're not friends. Where we, sit in the car or in the house, we don't gist, we don't talk. We're not able to connect." Now, I need to ask myself, she ticked all the boxes, but then is there a correlation between the way a man and a woman meet and how they proceed into marriage, right? So is there something we need to know about the way guys and ladies come together?
That's a very profound question there, and I like the fact that you're bringing in a real-life issue here. First of all, let me say that the duration of courtship has absolutely no bearing on whether a marriage will succeed or not. Again, ticking boxes is, I call this kind of things like fantasy. The guy who was single is not the guy that's married. You must make a change. And then, most of the time, we have a totally different idea about what marriage is all about. Marriage is not contracted because you love somebody. It's not made out of love. Love might be taken for granted. You're supposed to love everybody. But marriage is much more than that. Marriage is choice. You choose to marry somebody. That's why, for instance, if you go to a church and you look at the marriage vow, it says that forsaking all others, that's a choice. That I have feeling for somebody, that's okay. The way you young ones say it, you have a crush on somebody. There's no doubt you can. But you see, let me try and bring people to reality. Because most times, the way we make those choices is not founded upon knowledge. Therefore, our expectations are unfounded. We are looking most of the time for what doesn't exist. We have an ideal husband, we have an ideal wife. And let me also say, before I really anchor this point somewhere, that there's too much of views about this marriage. So many seminars here, so many books here, and unfortunately, most of the books we read are from the West. And then we have some cultural challenges. But let me come back to my point that marriage is out of choice. I decide to marry this person. And you see, when you make a choice, what it also means is that you want to, because choices, decisions, they have consequences, right? People change. That's the truth. So you marry somebody and then all of a sudden, you say you don't have feelings for that person again. Marriage is not about feelings. It's about choice. This is the person I have chosen now. And then after the choice, then love comes in. I elect to love this person. That's it. That's when the love now becomes unconditional. It's beyond feeling. There are a lot of married people out there who want to be very, very sincere. They will tell you that they have gone through such patches where there's absolutely. I've had a seminar before years ago when I used to have a lot of seminars. I spoke to the men there. If you knew what you know now about your wife, will you marry this? Many of them said no. They were very sincere enough. So it's not about feeling. Like she said, I don't know what butterfly is. I don't know what
Or moth.
or moth or whatever. You see, it's a choice to love somebody. So regardless of what that person becomes, regardless, you want to help and bring out the best in that person every point in time. Last thing I will say before I stop here. Sincerity is very key. There is no married person out there who would say that since he or she got married, he has not found somebody, he has not sighted somebody, interacted with somebody who is better than his spouse or her spouse. But because it's choice, this is the one I chose to. So if it's about feeling, everybody will leave. That's it. You can't sustain that. I mean, feelings are fluid. My sociology tells me that human behavior is fluid, but character is constant. Character is constant. So that person who says no longer having feelings, if that person comes to me, I'll tell the person, what have you been reading? What have you been listening to? Marriage is not about feelings.
Sounds very mechanical.
Mechanical and really out of the usual, because for a lot of people, and I'm not speaking for myself. For a lot of
You're not married.
Yeah, but
But what?
Are you married? What's the but there? You're not married. Honari is single.
but there is a process to getting married. I'm talking about the process from where I am now to where I'll eventually be.
Okay.
It actually isn't, choice now. I'm hearing it from you. It sounds good. You're saying choice is it, and that choice actually is the.
You choose to love the person, and that makes it constant. Because people change. You can have somebody tick all the boxes, right? And then by the time you guys maybe childbirth, the guy is not exercising well, there's pot belly, snoring in the night. Will you not say you're gonna? That's what I'm saying is about choice. As teenagers, there's this saying, they say love is blind. But after a while, we added another, they say marriage is an eye-opener. But there's something I don't want us to repeat on this program. When we talk about marriage, we take all the jokes. People laugh, and then we forget the meat of what we are trying to get across. That's not what we're... As much as possible, we want to have fun discussing this, but we don't want, the seeming jokes to take us away from the very meat of this knowledge that we are trying to pass across.
You can send text messages to 081-4456-9000 or send a WhatsApp message still on the same number, 081-4456-9000. You can also leave messages on our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Reju.
Well, Dr. Reju, I think something happened some years back in town here. Mm-hmm. That a lady left her husband that she wedded just because she had a CD or just maybe a book. She was exchanging with a friend in the office, and somehow this same chemistry built up. She left the person she got wedded to and married the new guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm privy to that particular story. It was actually, a situation where this couple, The wife likes to watch home video. The man doesn't. The man is not really interested in watching home video. After a while, this lady started exchanging videos with a colleague in the office. One or two things lead to one another, and then, cut long story short, there was a divorce and a remarriage somewhere. But I would personally classify that as maybe there's a bit of immorality that's involved in that. But having said that, marriage evolves, right? Two people, different sex, different background. You want to, because I said earlier on that it is choice to love. It is also choice to nurture something, right? You want to nurture something. It's that we need to learn to enter each other's world. I counseled a couple years ago, and I told them that it's as if the two of you live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and the sitting room is empty. You are in different rooms, and the door to those rooms are locked. You are talking from behind the doors. You are not deliberately forging a union. Union is not when maybe you do the nikah in the mosque, or you have a wedding ceremony in a church. That's not the union. That's just the beginning. It now has to be built. And it takes decision from both parties that we have something here that is not just going to happen. We have to make it happen. So coming back to that particular, the example, the woman loves to sit down and watch home videos, and the man is not interested. Because it takes somebody actually deciding to do what you don't really enjoy doing, but for the sake of love, right? You want to cross that barrier. You want to go. We've seen because we've seen a lot of places where passion. You remember the story during the World Cup? I was in Brazil or something. One man that threw the wife out, through the window because Brazil was playing, and the woman wanted to watch another thing, and threw the wife out. After the match, he was looking for the woman. That's funny, but it happened. It actually happened. I think it was during a particular World Cup, season. Now, it's something we build. It's something you have to deliberately, because when you are going into this union, you have to know that, number one, I'm not looking for something to make me happy. Can I say it here? Marriage does not make people happy. Marriage doesn't make you happy. It is what you bring into it that you get back. So if somebody is looking for happiness, don't go into marriage. Marriage doesn't have, it is what you take into it that you take out. But if you think your wife can't make you happy, you can, but the two of you can decide that we want to have fun together. We want to have fun together. And then it's the onlooker who now says that, oh, this particular couple, they are happy. Right? So it's not that somebody is looking for joy and you go into marriage. No, take joy into it. If you don't have joy before you marry, forget it. Forget it. That's, because we put a lot of pressure on marriage. Like a girl there is looking for a man to bring sunshine into her world. If you don't have sunshine, honestly, that man too is looking for sunshine. These things are, because a lot of people today, they are entering into this very important relationship, this union, with a totally, wrong premise. The expectations are unfounded, and it's not. And, because we're talking about family, we can't build those values if there is no good marriage. Right? Marriage is what actually produces families. So if there's no good, sound, healthy marriage, there is no atmosphere, no environment can be created for us to begin to inculcate those kind of values or to develop them or to pass it. So I love football. Starting out, my wife didn't like football. Right? But I watch football so much with a lot of finesse. Again, we're throwing a lot of banters into this thing because marriage is supposed to be fun, and you choose to have that fun. You are not expecting the other person to come and give you fun, to supply it. You bring your bit, she brings her bit, and there's something I believe. If any relationship works, platonic friendship, marriage, business, or whatever relationship, if it works, if it's functional, somebody is playing the fool. Somebody is not insisting on his or her rights all the time. That's why it works. It's about, it's give and take. It's give and take. So it's especially for a lot of people who are living in denial. They're living in denial. They want to show the world that their marriage works.
I'm curious about this, your football story.
Okay?
You didn't finish it.
My wife, today, she's an Arsenal fan. Right? Handsome and beautiful people love Arsenal. Okay. Okay, but, that, because I don't know how, it wasn't intentional, but I pulled her into it. Right? Nothing intentional. This is just something I'm passionate about. And most of the time, these matches happen maybe on Saturday or Sunday when both of us are home. And then we started watching actively when our children were grown and they were gone to boarding school. So it was just the two of us. So maybe we were just stuck in it. I think we have to talk to one another. So that's the thing. She picked that interest that I had. There are many other interests that she has that I don't really, because I've discovered that sometimes we don't really appreciate the uniqueness of both sexes. This might be my own observation over the years. Women love to talk.
You can say that again.
Men don't like to listen.
You can say that again.
So the man had to learn to listen. Even just show that you are listening. Just show, even if it's the yeah, oh, right. And the woman that loves to talk wants to be heard. So the man has to be able to, inconvenience yourself, enter into that world, When a woman is talking and the husband is listening, she's ecstatic.
Okay, but it's not finished now.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just it. And my point here is that a lot of people enter into this with a lot of fantasy. But taking it from where the example that Isaac gave, I said there might be some element of immorality because the issue is that couples must learn to build common interest. Build it consciously. Build it. Yeah.
We hate to break the session so far, but we'll stop for now and take a break, listen to our sponsors. We'll come back on this very interesting, I'm enjoying myself here, this very interesting episode on marriage and family. We'll be right back.
There are cooking oils and there are cooking oils, Of course. There are those that foam like soap when you put them on fire. And there are those that go to sleep after a few days. There are even those with funny odors that make neighbors wonder what's happening in your kitchen.
I beg, don't kill me, oh.
But then again, there is Grand Pure Soya Oil, made from pure soya seed. Grand Pure Soya Oil is cholesterol-free, which makes it ideal for the heart and health conscious. It neither foams nor fumes, neither does it congeal even at low temperature. Grand Pure Soya Oil is also endorsed by the Nigerian Heart Foundation as heart-friendly oil.
Let me go and get my own Grand Pure Soya Oil, Joe. Oil that doesn't smell or sleep.
Grand Pure Soya Oil, a heart-friendly oil you've always known.
Welcome back to the program. This is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. Now, we've been on the topic of marriage. And before we left for the break, we touched on some subject. We established that the butterflies should all be cute. But Obi, please continue.
Yes, so we're also talking about how the two parties come together, right? And, I think before I married, there was an explosion of literature on marriage. Yeah, there was, first of all, the 5 love languages. I don't know if you heard about it, if you read it.
Yeah.
I did read it. It gave me butterflies in my tummy. But, but then, there are all these talk about how they need to, how intending couples need to first of all connect mentally, then connect socially, then connect physiologically, then connect physically. Well, no, physical is after. Then connect spiritually. You know, just
Yeah.
this list of do's of things to look out for. And I'm like, okay, how sort of valid are those ideas when it really comes to, choosing a life partner?
Yeah, a lot of people will write those kind of books based on their own unique experience. And the tragedy of those things is that we take personal experiences and we put it into a wider application, which is not right. A lot of those books and materials, some of them are good, but I think for most part of it, there were a lot of things that were taken too far. It became so, it's like your friend who was checking boxes. We're talking about human beings here. Human beings are different. What works for you might not work for me. I've seen couples have challenge just because couple A called the wife by a pet name, and this guy wasn't brought up that way. And the woman won't let him rest. Your friend calls this one maybe chicken pepperoni, and then you don't call me anything, just call me by my name. And it was a big issue. So coming back to those literatures, it's many of them, like I said, they are good. People write out of their own experience what works for them. But you see, they took it too far. See, what works for me must work for everybody. That was the danger in those kind of things. So this series of connections, honestly, I read sociology, and the first thing I was told in sociology is that human behavior is fluid. People are products of their environment. Those kind of literature didn't take that into consideration. It wasn't contextual. They didn't allow people discover their own union. When you say somebody must connect philosophically, connect spiritually, connect, and all those kind of connection, it doesn't, I don't think it works that way. This thing has to be allowed. I believe for me let it start with some casual friendship. We might not even be thinking of marrying. Maybe we work in the same office. Maybe we live on the same street and we greet each other. Fine. If I see somebody that I like, fine. I want to get attracted to that kind of person. Even if there's something at the back of my mind that, this might lead there. And I don't think there's any woman, any young girl who will like it. Although maybe they do it nowadays, because what I heard is they just ask, what's your phone number? And that's how the whole thing starts. That's tragic. Why can't we just have this kind of friends? What I tell young people is that for a girl, learn from just having casual male friends on how to relate with people of the other gender. Just know how to relate, because I believe the best marriages come out of when friends marry. When friends marry. That doesn't mean it's automatic, because these friends change. But those literatures, the downside of it was that people take their personal, somebody talking about love language. Love language should be people specific. It should be people specific. It should be, sometimes it's culture specific. Sometimes it's background, upbringing specific, right? Some things can be learned, but again, you don't want to force. And again, most of these books were written by Westerners. When did we start writing marriage books here in Nigeria? Even the ones we write here is still, is still basically based on what we've seen in movies, what we've seen in other. So, if you look at the marriage of maybe our fathers and mothers and all those kind of things, I don't think there is, minimum of courtship of 6 months. And no. Their parents even marry them, right? Somebody will see the daughter of his friend and say, this one is good for my son. I'm not saying that's okay, but it can still happen. So this thing is, as faces are different, so are the ways in which people can come together. They must be able to develop their own unique love language. You know, how you meet your wife might not be the way Isaac will meet his wife. It might not be the way Onari is going to, meet her, her husband that's on the way. So it's like that. I don't know. My wife was my colleague. I was posted to her unit in the bank. She was supposed to take me through something, and one thing led to, to another, took her out for lunch, and,
I think we restrict ourselves, by all these things that we've made like pillars that we look up to. But if we can just be open-minded enough, we'll find freedom of expression to be able to even allow, friendship, lasting ones. Not go into something and there's this joke that once a guy says hi, and his last name, you start saying if it fits into your if it fits with your name, and then start calculating the wedding.
Oh my goodness!
They do.
That's one issue we need to deal with on this, this issue, especially. I have a personal burden for the female gender. And I think we should create time to really talk about that. That's a big, big issue for me. It's a big issue for me. I don't want to bring it in here so that I don't take you guys off where you want to take this discussion. But that's something we need to visit, because growing up, now I'm getting there. Because growing up, and it's still true today, girls don't know that boys don't like what they get on the cheap. The male gender is by nature a predator. For those who are my age, when we were in school, when we are going to female hostel to go and look for girls, we say we are going hunting. The tougher the girl is a test of character for the guy. And that's how the value of that girl, the worth of that girl will soar. So, but today, the moment you say hi, they are grinning from ear to ear. Boys don't appreciate that. They don't. And these girls don't believe that. They don't believe that. I'm telling you, they don't. It's sad.
All right.
All right. I mean, I told you that's a personal burden.
Yeah,
So if
so
I say that with a lot of
Onari-
emotion.
It's obvious, right?
Yeah.
I can feel the emotions.
I can feel it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we come to the end of this episode. The topic again is marriage, and it will not be exhausted so soon. So join us again next week, Friday, same time, 5 p.m. on Rhythm, as we continue on marriage. And remember, this series is the family. Go to answerswithdrredu.com and get previous episode on the family, on governance, on everything that we've talked about from the inception of this program. Until next week, it's goodbye from all of us on Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified. Give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrredu.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Redu, or send us an email at answerswithdrredu@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are @Dr. Redu Answers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Redu, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified.